What's up, Juventini? Alberto here. I got all your Juve news. All right, two certainties being called out by media outlets for the winter mercato for Juventus. We'll take a look at what those are. Vlahovic, are we heading for the same summer saga that we just endured this past summer? Take a look at what's being said, and then we get a big boost ahead of the match on Saturday against Roma. So like the video, subscribe to the channel. This is the AJC. Let's rock. First things first, let's get the business that went down yesterday out of the way, and that's Vasilije Adzic being signed by Juventus. €5 million deal. There's a 20% sell-on clause, all right? And Juve obviously hot on this player because to spend that money on a next-gen player and be willing to sacrifice a non-European spot for him, that's big, all right? So he apparently is going to be undergoing his medical over the next week and a half or so at some point, and he can't join Juventus until he's 18. And the reason for the non-European spot apparently is because he doesn't carry a European passport. But again, they obviously wanted him, and they beat out Bologna, but they wanted him badly. They got him. The other finished piece of business from yesterday, Bremer extension to 2028. Taking it that extra year brings down the annual cost from 17.6 million to about 15.8 roughly, all right, as amortization on that deal was around 8.2 million per season on top of his 9.2 salary. Now it is down to 6.5 million per season on top of his 9 million salary. The beauty about this, obviously, less annual costs for Juventus, and still the value that we purchased him at 41 million euros, he is already well beyond. Love locking up Bremer to 2028. Daniele Rugani, he is next on deck to be extended to 2026, and that should be the next one that we see finalized. All right, now we get to two certainties being called by media outlets for this winter mercato. The first is Tuttosport claiming that Iling Jr. will be sold by Juventus this winter to facilitate a midfield move. Now, what's interesting about this is Iling Jr. is not needed for the guys that we are hearing a lot about, Phillips and Højbjerg, okay? But if we sell them and we can use those funds, it could be used to finalize something different, something that maybe Juve actually wants that might make more sense for the team, all right? So this is an interesting one. If, in fact, Iling Jr. is moved, I'm going to be very curious to see how that money is used immediately and not just banked. Otherwise, I believe they would just keep him around. They're not going to sell him for plans in the summer. They would just hang on to him and then move him in the summer. So if Iling Jr. moves, this would be the first domino, all right, to go down into what's to come. And maybe, just maybe, that move could be what's needed to finalize things with Samardzic. If Napoli is going after him and Juventus can scrap the loan portion of that move, maybe it's going to be used to finalize that deal. Or maybe Juve has a little bit of money they could put towards a move, and this would be spent to finalize it, like maybe a Sudakov. I'm not sure, but I do feel confident saying that Iling Jr. is not needed for a move for Phillips or Højbjerg if they were going to be loans, and Juve's looking for option, not obligation. He's not needed. So if he in fact moves, I think we could be in for a surprise. Let's see what happens. Gazzetta claiming that Juve will try to sign Thiago Giallo this January to beat out competition, as Giuntoli wants to bring in this player, all right? This one I'm unsure about, and I don't know if that is in fact going to be the case. I think it's clear if we're looking at these two certainties, which one is the higher priority. It's definitely the midfield. So this one I'm going to doubt, and I'm going to go with Tuttosport on theirs, that is probably more likely. You guys know the drill. Hit me in the comments section. Now, Vlahovic. The latest on Vlahovic is that the renewal not looking good, as him and his entourage just don't want to bring down any of the annual costs or help spread out that salary. They're looking for guarantees on their end, and they definitely don't want the bonuses pushed back to the end of that contract. So media suggests we could be in line for the same Vlahovic-Lukaku saga that we just went through this past summer, as Chelsea is not going to be offering up any breaks for Roma to purchase Lukaku, so we could find ourselves in the exact same spot. My question to all of you, Juventini, have you changed your mind? If the same option is presented this summer, would you swap the two players this summer? For me, I am still just not a big Lukaku fan and would still say no this summer to this swap. If Vlahovic has to go, make the sale and let's look elsewhere and move onwards. But you guys know the drill. Hit me in the comments section with what you think. Now, we get to a boost heading into the game against Roma this weekend, and that's Vlahovic, Locatelli, and Chiesa will all be on the team list. According to Romeo Agresti, they should all be available. However, out of those three, Kenan Yildiz is still expected to start over Federico Chiesa, so he should be starting from the bench according to the reports today, and I would have absolutely no problem with Yildiz getting another start. If you can bring Chiesa on as a sub, that's great. I think those two should be the ones substituting each other. If we are going to keep everything the same in the midfield, not try an advanced midfielder, I think Chiesa and Yildiz should be the ones to rotate amongst themselves, and then Vlahovic, Milik, and Keane can rotate with the other forward position. That's how I feel. Guys, agree, disagree, hit me in the comments. But that wraps up your news break to today. You guys know the drill. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the content. Let's keep growing the AJC army. Until tomorrow's update, as always, fino alla fine, forza Juventus. Ciao tutti.